One day off, so. So, yeah. I worked Friday. We couldn't get Friday off, so.
I know.
We'll call this meeting to order. Elmdale Public Schools commit to educate, inspire, and inspire. Elmdale Public Schools commit to educate, inspire, and support all students. Amy, you have our role. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public participation process. Members of the audience are welcome to make comments at the designated time, the time designated on the agenda. Please register on the sign-up sheet and limit your comments to 3 minutes when your name is called. Out of respect for all individuals, please refrain from personal criticism in an open forum. Policy 167.3 for more info. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Pam, support by Anna. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed the same. Motion pass. Dr. Cooper.
Yeah, the first topic to discuss tonight is to take a look at some of our policies that had some language in there that was under question. They have to do with language that was inside the parentheses and just kind of expanded the description that was offered for protections. And if you looked at policies 1422, 3122, and 4122, the language in parentheses after not discriminating against race, color, national origin, sex, in the parentheses after sex, it says, including pregnancy, childbirth, related medical conditions, sexual orientation, and gender identity. If you look at 4 of our other policies, which are 2260, 2266, 5517, and 9211, after the word sex in parentheses, it says including sexual orientation or gender identity. So spoke with Neola and also spoke with Coleman, Dave Coleman, Coleman Law, and confirmed that that wording inside the parentheses is not required. Varnum is okay with if we removed that language, that they would still warranty the policies. And so I'm just putting it out there for the board because there is some consideration about not leaving that language still in there. And so that's what I found, and we can have some discussion, and if we want to move to remove it, then it would be on the December board meeting.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, really what it's about is our board policies explicitly defining protected classes, and I don't know that that's appropriate. Federal and state law do that for us, and I mean the list that we have maybe isn't fully inclusive. If we want to start looking at what specific protected classes we want to define outside of federal and state law. So to Dr. Cooper's point, the attorneys are okay with removing that. I think just benchmarking other Other board policies, specifically Neola, it's hit or miss whether different schools have that language, similar language, or have nothing in the parentheses. So I would like to see it removed, and I don't see any reason that we wouldn't do that. And that's kind of my position on it.
Anyone else?
Were these added as updates, the parenthesis language? When?
Some of it has been added in the update. I think the 1422, 3122, and 4122, it was revised in the latest update.
Okay, and so why wouldn't that be a highlight that we would address then?
I didn't catch it when we did the updates, and so
Okay.
we accepted the updates last time with kind of a caveat that we take a look at it
Okay.
going forward.
Thank you.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a good digging, good find. Thank you for checking with the attorneys. I would be very open to having it on the agenda to look at that next meeting.
Okay. We'll put that on the December 8th agenda then, as an action item to modify those policies. Item B is feedback from SETSEG. I want to be really clear on this. SETSEG, I've had multiple conversations with their leadership. They are all in continuing with us into the 26-27 school year. Obviously, we're good through the June 30th, 2026. But they're all in on staying with us. They'll continue to insure us. I've asked them to just put it in writing. I just respond to my email. And Scott's had a conversation. They're not comfortable at this point doing that, primarily because they've had a long-standing relationship with MASB. They were a charter of MASB. That's where they came from. And they have an executive, they have a member of MASB on their executive board. So they would rather not put it in writing, but they feel very comfortable. We're not going to let you go. We want to continue to work with you. But I want to make sure the board understands that this is a verbal agreement from them. I'm comfortable with it, but if you're not comfortable with it, then we did talk about putting a committee together to look at other options. So I just didn't want to get so far down the road that we were locked in, like we had no choice anymore. I still feel like if we're not comfortable with the verbal agreement with them, then there's still time for us to constitute a committee.
Just to confirm, if it's verbal between you two, that's an automatic contract, it's a litigation, so
So we're good?
we're good.
Okay.
At what point are they suggesting that it would no longer be verbal but written? Because, yeah, I mean, at some point, we'll have to re-sign or re-accept terms.
Well, we do every year,
Yeah.
and so we
That's
kind of
a-
did this year, and we kind of will next year. And I think at some point, like you said, it would be really hard for them to come back and say, well, we're not going to take you now because you're not with MASB. Well, you have for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I feel they're pretty sheepish about it. Like, they really would want to put it in writing, but I think they're just like, look, we don't want to cause any internal conflict we don't need to cause, but we certainly don't want to, let you guys go, and we want to continue to get you. But it's kind of an internal thing for them, but I feel pretty confident. Scott, you've talked to them too, are you?
Yeah, I feel good about it.
Yeah. They're not going to let us go.
It's April, May timeframe that they usually come out with, and talk with us, and we give us paperwork design. It's, policy, it's, premiums due July 1st, so we know well in advance.
Yeah, I think, when we set up the insurance committee, our best case scenario was to continue to working with SETSAG. And the fact that they valued our relationship in business enough to allow us to keep them as a carrier, I want to sort of reciprocate that trust. Also, it's not, we kind of discussed, it isn't in the language of the policy that we are required to carry that MASB membership.
Right.
And one of the other questions that I had that I didn't ask is, in the contract, there should be something where there has to be sort of written notification by either party that we're either they're not going to renew or that we choose not to renew with them. It might be unilateral where only they need to give us written notice, but I'd be interested to see in the contract what amount of time they would need to do that, because it may be 6 months, it may be 3 months, it may be 30 days. But I think that would alleviate any concern that I think this board would have or any future board if we continue that relationship, because again, that was the best outcome we could ask for. So I really appreciate that of them, and knowing that it's not in the policy document, that it's in their charter, which you explained to me, makes me really comfortable with it. So that's my position.
Okay. I'll try to find that language in the contract. Good. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood exactly where it was, and I think they'll stay with us, So item C is the new state sex ed standards. I just wanted to have this conversation. It's a hot topic right now. My feeling personally as a superintendent is that there is nothing in those standards for us. I don't see anything that is probably an interest to add to our curriculum. If we did look at adding it to our curriculum, it's very specific how it goes through the Sex Ed Advisory Board. So I thought maybe Liz, as the board chair for that committee, can maybe talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so obviously there's been a lot of media frenzy with some of those new standards, but so everyone knows, there are standards that are recommended by the State Board of Education. It doesn't change any sort of Michigan law or how we would look at curriculum. And so currently right now there's recommendations. If Allendale were to look at wanting to adopt some of those recommendations, we would have to have a Sex Ed Advisory Board meeting. They would have to meet and go through their process in terms of what that advisory board would want to recommend to this board. Once they made the recommendation, we would have to have 2 public hearings to really talk about it, allow for public comment. After that, this board would still have the final say. So the advisory board can advise, and then this board would vote on if we wanted to adopt some of those curriculum changes or not. We currently do not have a Sex Ed Advisory Board meeting on the calendar for quite some time. End of the school year, I believe, is our next one. So there's nothing in plan for us to kind of look at these and take them or adopt them, any of the changes that are recommended. So as of right now, our sex ed curriculum would remain as is.
Yeah. And just, again, a little point of clarification, because folks get a little confused. The state put out standards. It's not like the Sex Ed Board would just say, well, we want to adopt those standards. Well, no, that's not how it works. If you want to adopt those standards, then it needs to be crafted into curriculum, instructional practices, what are you going to use in the classroom, something that's very well defined, and then it would have to go through the public hearing and then to the school board. So you'll never be asked just to adopt those standards. You would be asked to adopt how those standards folded into new curriculum. So it's a pretty lengthy process, but at this point, on first blush, after talking with our curriculum director too, we don't see anything in those standards that really needs to be adopted. And just to clarify also, Diane Golzinski is the state leader on the health curriculum. She has been there for years and years, and I've known Diane a long time. So I called her last Thursday just to make sure. I said, now there's nothing in here, right, that is required? And she said, no, none of these are required standards that you have to accept. And I said, well, just so you're aware, I'm pretty sure our board is not interested in adopting those standards. And she said, totally understandable, and you will not be the only district that isn't interested in taking those standards. So just give you that information as well.
The other thing I've seen floating around out there just to kind of is that and I kind of dug into this and I talked to Dr. Cooper about it too, is that there's a lot of articles that talk about these standards can be kind of placed in throughout other aspects of curriculum if they wanted, English or math or things like that, and that is not currently the case with Michigan law. So currently Michigan, you can only teach sex ed in a health sex ed class. So that also will not be happening at Allendale, just to kind of make sure everyone knows that you won't be getting, some of these various standards in their other science classes or math or things like that. We will stick to that law. So that, I know I saw out there was a couple of articles that made it seem like that was the proposed change and that was the way it was going to go, but that is not the case.
thoughts or questions on that? Great. So item D is not for me. Item D is the superintendent goals. You brought this up at my evaluation that you wanted to have a conversation what those goals might be, so I'll pass it back.
Yeah, so I think from coming out of the evaluation, I did not write any down, but I think it was more, I was looking more at achievements, you know, which we have to have goals that we can track progress of. That's part of the mid-year review. So, yeah, I think we should, yeah, I don't, because we haven't done this before, so I don't know exactly what the process would be. If we need to come to you with some that you want to pick, or, like I said, it really doesn't give good direction on setting the goals.
I think we have a couple different things that we can track pretty easily. Part of it is that student achievement goal. We use the iReady test that would give us multiple data points throughout the year. I also think there might be something around MTSS to talk about some of our interventions, the kids that we're supporting through interventions, how many are getting interventions. So I think there are things like that you could get milestone data throughout the year. So I don't know exactly what the goal would be worded as, but those might be two areas that we could craft goals around that could be measured pretty easily.
I think the goals are already set. It's the rubric, and it's a touch base of where are we at in the measurement of those goals, so that at the end of the year, it's not we think you missed this by a huge amount, and here's why. It's where are we at in measurement to this end goal, and if the end goal is a 3, then why aren't we there yet, or what data do you have that supports where you're at? And then it gives us a chance to have questions on either communications or where we're not understanding where you're seeing yourself, scoring yourself at a certain level, and so we can have a check-in sooner than waiting till the end of the year to go through the entire rubric and, I guess, miss each other by a long shot. That's my thought anyways.
So I think I understood half of that. Like, and my understanding was about half of that, where we wouldn't necessarily go through that rubric, but maybe pick a couple of key things, like, so, because we're talking about halfway through his evaluation, meaning 6 months in, which is the new standard, right? And so then we would talk in closed session about where we're at with some of those goals. We probably have to have which ones we're going to talk about identify, because we're not supposed to go through that whole rubric.
No, I agree. I would say if there's ones that you think that either we were missing each other on, or that we think that there's not adequate information presented out there, like through our regular communications, like, hey, I noticed on this one, like, I think I'm going to have more questions on this year because of this. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but it should be, I guess, agreed upon which ones you're going to.
Yes, so if you look, there is a form.
Yeah.
The form is, there's just 3 lines, and it's kind of like what you said, it's not like paragraphs. It gives us one short line to put, what goals are we gonna look at in 6 months?
But the goals aren't different than things that are on the rubric, or they are, you're suggesting?
I think
When I talk to Sean, it is not derived from digging things out of the rubric per se. It's something that the board agrees with the superintendent that we're gonna check progress on in 6 months.
yes, technically it says an improvement plan to provide 3 goals that you want to look at. So like when it says the grades or the iReady, see where the students are at this time, we want to set the goal that it be this, let's try to make a goal that we can get up to this area, like 45%, maybe 50 or something like that. Is one of the goals I would like to see added to it.
My confusion lies in, Beth already tells us all of that. So we get reports on that, so it wouldn't be a different goal, because she does presentations on where we stand with everyone's iReady data across the school district of where we stand and all of that. So, I mean, we can set a midway goal of that, like typically we have a yearly goal, but that is something, like, that's not different, because we look at that already. So, I mean, I'm fine doing that, I guess it'd just be a little bit of double dipping, but it's something, I mean, it would give us a chance, I guess, to speak in a closed session about it. But it's something that we already have presented to us.
Do we have mid-year information?
They do a mid-year.
Okay, that was my concern too. I mean, if we don't have that information, that's, okay.
I think there's a difference for me between reviewing data and setting a goal and working toward that. I think we can do a better job of saying, okay, here is where we would like to be, and maybe it's a stretch goal. And then, I mean, 6 months is the requirement. I know there are districts who do quarterly reviews. We could have, a great job with visual management, putting together what those, what the metrics or what the achievements have been. But for me, in my experience so far, we don't really say, okay, this is where we want to be, this is where we are at, and then review it and say, hey, we're on target. Wow, we're doing great. What are we doing right? What can we still do better? Or we seem to be off target. What can we do to course correct to make sure we get back on target by the end of the year and hit that goal? So it gives us an opportunity to collaborate a little bit, talk about, that accomplishment that we want, track often how we're doing toward it, and then course correct if we're able to.
Do you have any suggestions of like what type of things you're talking about?
What I think would be valuable, again, is maybe reach out to the ISD and benchmark and see what other districts are doing. Maybe this is a unique thing, and we can really talk through it, work through it, and kind of take a leadership role in this approach for the district or for the OASD. Or maybe there are, many schools that are already doing this, and all we have to do is understand if it's been effective, if they've seen improvement, and and then pick and choose what others are doing that we think it would be valuable for us. That's what I would like to do.
Are you
is
talking about
benchmark.
benchmarking their process or specific data, like are iReady against other schools?
I mean, I
Or
don't see any
both?
reason, both, and there's probably other things that we could look into and say, okay, what's valuable for us? The more we can collect and the more we can analyze, I think we're just in a better position to make informed decisions as opposed to no decisions, no targets, no check-ins. So, I don't know, there's an opportunity there. I think it's worth more discussion. We don't have to resolve it today or in our next meeting, but.
So this is the goals should, our generalities derived from district's current MICIP plan, district strategic plan, district goals, superintendent evaluation tool, or other agreed upon measures. That's where it asks that to be, I think it's gotta be something measurable.
For sure.
At some point.
So the MICIP is called MyKIP, and it's our school improvement, our district improvement plan. Is this, can I make is this something you would want to have a subcommittee to really flesh out exactly what the wording, because I think the wording might be important, right? So you know what you're looking for. It might be hard to do in a big group like this, but maybe have some people put together 3 goals and bring them back to the board? Just a
Actually,
thought.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we can, I mean, I just don't wanna drag it out.
I don't either. I think that it
No,
need to
you
be
know.
presented pretty quick, but I think we could do
It's up to
that.
you.
I think 3 of us could have a conversation and do that. I'd be willing to do it.
Okay. Well, I'll do it also because I'm the president for this month. Is there one other person that wants to be on there and we'll meet?
Yeah, I would like, I would,
Recommending this.
All right,
I would really like to be that, you know, on that team. And I've worked with the ISD now to benchmark. They've been awesome. They've been super helpful, providing the information. So, yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity for us, you know, as an organization, so.
All right, we'll come back in December with some goals to discuss. We can move them around, figure it out.
Because it's such a short timeframe, it's only, if you wanted to come back in January, because I think what is.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I was thinking coming back in December with them, so we can kind of talk about them,
Okay, not vote on it.
not vote on them.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
I'd like everybody to have some time
Yeah,
to mill them over.
I didn't want to be stressed, you
Uh,
have to be able to
well,
vote on that day.
And I don't think it needs, I mean, we're not looking at making, this isn't the rubric where we got 35 questions. It only has spots for 3. I mean, we're looking at a couple things, they're more discussion items than they are actually goals in from the way I read it and the way the advisor talked about
Is
it.
it what it is?
Yeah, no,
Maybe you have to vote on something in
no,
December now,
nope,
you only get like a
nope,
week.
nope, we'll get it. And, yeah, we'll see when we get together.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, and I'd really be interested, Dr. Cooper, in, you know, what your thoughts are. You're well connected with the associations. You know what other districts across the state are doing. And, you know, if there's another district that has something similar and they're finding success with it, then, you know, you're close to that and you could bring that back. And I think that would be really valuable.
The guy I talked to, he might have some suggestions also.
Yeah, I can ask around too, see.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should be doing it, so.
Yep, yeah, everybody should be doing it.
Yeah, the goal is to get better.
Yep,
You know, it's
exactly.
not to, you know, really come down on anybody or anything like that. It's, let's do what we can to get better. Let's invest the time and the energy and the effort to do that. You know, we owe it to the community and the students, the staff, you know, everybody that's engaged. So that'd be great.
I appreciate it. Okay. Next up is the bullying and discipline reports. This is always an interesting set because, you know, it's quarterly and this first quarter starts July 1st, but we don't get kids till the end of August. So basically the reports you saw are based on 24 days of school. Didn't seem like a whole lot. The thing that is concerning that I saw was at our ECC, and that just, we continue to see more and more behaviors at younger and younger ages. That's just, the 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds are just coming to us with a lot of challenging behaviors, unfortunately. From the other schools, I didn't see anything that necessarily stood out to me, although there was one other thing I wanted to mention. I think it was the high school. I do appreciate the principals putting this together, and in the case of the high school, I believe it was Mrs. Harrell maybe put that together, and she was very thorough, I thought, in what she shared about the high school data. Why am I not finding it? Sorry. It's still on my policy stuff. Here we go. Oh, I know what it was from the high school. Cell phones. So one of the things that they're running into more this year is students on their cell phones. They changed the policy a little bit. They had previously been a little lax, and they would give students several warnings prior to the cell phone being brought to the office. But this year, they keep telling them you can't have them. And now, if they bring it out during class, they're going to get referred. And so that has shown an increase. And the reason that stands out to me is you probably are aware, there are a lot of states where they've banned cell phone use. I personally would not want to see us do that, only because I think there are practical uses for them. I like the fact that we, generally treat kids with respect and, responsibility. It's like, look, we want you to build responsible behavior, right? If I just take the cell phone away from you, you have no opportunity to demonstrate responsibility because I've not given you that opportunity. But if I tell you this is the policy, you don't take your phone out during class, So I do think there are some advantages to keeping the cell phone policy, but the thing that caught my eye about this is like, these kids need to understand, if they don't start complying, it's just gonna feed that narrative, not just in Allendale, but all around the state, that kids shouldn't have cell phones during the school day, so.
Is there, like, I know my son says, is there a couple of the teachers or a few of them that put a basket and they drop it? Because he said he doesn't even have his cell phone.
Some
He has
do.
to put it in a basket when he gets in there.
Yeah,
Okay, because I was like, I don't mind that policy at all. I mean, that's what they have to go to.
yeah.
I think that's a good policy, unless you had to get up and make a call. I mean, something came up, it was an emergency, you had to do it, but.
But I do appreciate that this is something that they're working on at the high school. Again, we don't want to just take away your opportunities because then you don't develop good habits and good behaviors and become responsible. We want to give you this opportunity. Stop blowing it. But I don't know, did anything else stand up in the bullying or discipline reports? Anybody have a question?
No, actually, just a quick question. For some of the baskets or pockets, is that across the board or is that teacher individualized?
All learning spaces have.
All of them? Okay, I gotcha. Thank you.
One of the things with 31AA, which we're getting into next, there's a specific line item for investment in sort of, and I don't know, we could bring in an advisor, but you can use those monies specifically for, equipment, whatever is needed for instituting or enforcing cell phone policy, which I thought was interesting because it's all, everything in there is security related, and that was one thing that kind of caught my attention, so. So I don't know if that's a good segue, but that was an observation
Well, I do have
made.
one more other. I just wanted to let the board know that last Thursday, we held interviews for Mr. Park's position. Since he refuses to come back out of retirement, we had to go forward with the interviews. We had several very good candidates. One had no public school experience, and while he still has a lot of good accounting, it's too many things you have to know about school grants. So we had three that had a lot of experience. The one who stood out is Holly Klein, and some of you may know that name because Holly worked for us in our business office for 3 years, supporting the work Scott does, and she did a great job, and so we selected her and offered her the position, and she has accepted. So we are very excited about that, to have someone with experience, someone who's worked side by side with Scott, and so, that was the one thing that came through. She understands how Scott does things, and that, there's going to be a nice continuity there that'll really help us. So the goal is to have her start on January 5th, and Scott won't be officially done till towards the end of January, I believe, so that'll give us some overlap too to help with that transition. So,
I've met Holly, and, she's been at our meetings. I've always had great communication with her, and she's a perfect fit.
yeah.
Remind me, is she full-time now? Is she, because I know Scott had.
Yeah, she'll be full-time.
Okay, so she's full-time.
Yep, she'll be full-time, and she'll be a full APS employee. We're not doing contracted services, yep.
Really appreciate the overlap for the succession planning there. I think that's a great idea, so.
Thanks. Okay, that's all I had for the discussion items. All right, on to our action items. I have a motion for 3188.
I'll make a motion to approve opting in to the 31AA grant as presented through option A.
Support.
Motion by Josh, supported by All right, so there's still some uncertainty around the 31AA and some of the language that's being imposed with accepting those funds. There are two separate court cases out there. One's a state court case, one's a federal court case. The state court case is early in December. The federal court case is mid-December, which makes it hard to know exactly what we're going to get. Throon had given us 3 resolutions, originally 2, and then a third one came out late at the end of last week. There's Resolution A, which says we accept the funds with the caveat that if the language is found to be unconstitutional or is changed through legislation, then that resolution no longer exists and nullifies the resolution because it's not necessary. Option B would be to say we're declining the funds. And then the newest option that came out, option D, allows us to opt in because they're encouraging every district to opt in. And then option D gives us the ability, if the court cases go sideways and it's decided that they can stick with that language, option D then says this resolution automatically is rescinded. And so the district's not under any obligation to take those funds. The reason I am recommending we take option A is because I feel a lot more comfortable having time to process this, that either, and we talked about this early on, I'm still very convinced that that language is going to get changed either by the courts, which will find it unconstitutional to take away people's privileges like that, or there's going to be a legislative fix because there's still talk about that happening. And so I would like to see us opt in and stay in, and option A is the one that does that for us. Option D, we're in, but if the court cases don't go right, then we're automatically out without you taking further action. And so I think option A makes the most sense for us, with the caveat that there's still a little bit of concern that if the language doesn't get changed, you know, I feel like we're always transparent in when we talk about these issues. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be transparent. When I see districts in the news, it's always because they didn't come forward with things, and it always boggles my mind that you would do that because it compounds things. So I'm not as concerned about waiving the privilege, except for the fact that I do think it kind of handcuffs you if you have to go to court, because you're going to lay out your whole strategy to the person suing you, because they'll be able to FOIA your strategy. And I think that's a little unfair, but I think it makes the most sense for us to take option A and opt into the funds.
In any case, with whatever works out legislatively, we will have an opportunity to kind of review that, vote on this again, or?
No, I don't think there'll be time. So the court case, the federal court case, I believe is December 15th, if I'm remembering correctly, or 16th, somewhere in there. And we don't have a meeting after December 8th. And they're going to distribute the funds by statute, by legislation. They have to distribute the funds in December. So the reason we need to do this resolution now by December 4th is because if you opt in, I think everybody's going to get the payment. But if we opt in with resolution D, we get the payment, the court cases go wrong, then our resolution goes away and we'll have to send the money back. But I think everybody, if you want any hope of opting in, you got to do it now before December 4th. That answers the question.
Yeah, so regardless of the outcome, we're opted in and we're committed to accepting the funds, using the funds.
If we do that with resolution A, yes.
Okay, good.
What are you hearing from the other neighboring districts?
I think most of them will take option A. I heard one say they were absolutely going to deny the funds, which I don't really understand. We just had a superintendent meeting on Friday, and this was a topic of conversation. So I do know that one Ottawa County school indicated that they were not going to take the funds. I think some of them are leaning towards this latest resolution, which then in my mind could mean you're not going to take the funds, obviously, if the court cases go wrong. So it's kind of all over, but if I had to, it's probably 65–70% are going to take the money, for sure. But most are still undecided, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Although, except Grand Haven, I think Grand Haven's board already voted to take it. No, Grand Haven or Holland, sorry, I can't remember which one. One of the districts did already vote that they're taking the money.
Thurkettle,
Yes.
Tenbrink,
Yes.
Ramey,
Yes.
Halsteg,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
DeYoung,
No.
The motion pass. We will move on to public comment. There are no names. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment at this time? If not, then can I have a motion to adjourn at 6:40 PM?
Make a motion to adjourn at 6:40 PM.
Motion by Brandon. Support by Liz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. The motion passed.